Hi everybody, this is Courtney and welcome to Mosaic Monday. And today we're actually going to be going back in time to pattern number 11. And this is the bonus pattern that was included in the chart set. And I am doing a tutorial on that today. So for those of you who have that chart set from all those months ago last year in 2020 when I released it, you guys will be looking at that second chart in the chart set. This is 2 repeats of the pattern, so it's 2 repeats tall, and it's actually 3 repeats wide on this particular sample. I am using Yarn Bee Sweet Divinity in Ocean Breeze and also in the Coral Rodeo colorway. So those 2 colorways, all that information will be down below. And I'll also link the chart set in my Etsy shop for those of you who are interested in that. You don't need the chart set. I'm going to take you row by row in this tutorial to do this exact design, and I'll even tell you how you move up for additional repeats. The yarn information, the hook information, all of that will be down below in the description. And as always, I appreciate you so much for watching. Please make sure you leave me a comment and a thumbs up if you do enjoy this tutorial. You are going to need 2 colors of yarn, and this one is a multiple of 12 plus 4, and I will tell you in the tutorial part how to work flat or in the round. Now I've also started adding some playlists that have split out, and I'm grouping together the different multiples, you know, all the 12 plus 4s, 16 plus 4s, they're all now in individual playlists as well. So that might be something you're interested in checking out. I'll link some of those down below as well. And as always, row start times and project information, different chain counts and that sort of thing, all can be found down in that description. So grab your yarn and your favorite crochet hook and let's get started. So we're going to begin working in our multiple of 12, and right here I have chained out a total of 36, so that's 3 multiples of 12 plus 4 on the end, and that brings me to a total starting chain of 40 chains. If you're going to work in the round, you're just going to chain in that multiple of 12 over and over, and then you will slip stitch to the first chain you made to form a ring. And then you will begin following the repeats given in this video from there. The rest of us who are working flat, we're going to work in color A. We're going to get our starting chain ready. And now we're going to begin row number 1. So I'm going to begin working row 1 now. And to begin working row 1, all we need to do is skip the first chain. And then we're going to go there into that second chain, doing a traditional single crochet. So all that means is we're going to go under the V. So we're into that complete stitch. We're going to grab and drop our loop, and then grab and pull through the 2 loops we have on our hook. And that does our traditional single crochet in the first stitch. Now we begin the repeat for this row, and the repeat is very simple. We're going to place a back loop only single crochet in every stitch. Throughout the rest of this tutorial, I'll refer to these as just single crochets, but you'll know when you're working your repeat stitches, you're working in that back loop only when we're doing a single crochet. So we are going to place 1 of our single crochets in each and every stitch, and then we will meet back up when you're ready to do the last stitch in your row. So you may pause here. We are now here at the end of row number 1. So I am going to be doing my final stitch. So in the last stitch of this row, you're going to do your traditional single crochet again. So after I complete this last stitch, so we get under that V completely, and we finish out. I can now chain up 2 or bind off however I prefer. That's what we're going to be doing, is we're going to do a bind off real quick. So at the end of row 1, I began the row with a total of 40 starting chains. I now have a total of 39 9 stitches. So that's the stitch count that I'm going to be maintaining for the rest of this particular swatch. So you want to make sure that you count these stitches and have the right number of stitches before moving on. If you are doing in the round at the end of row 1, you would have a total of 36 stitches. So you'll be starting out with the same number of starting chains that you end up having stitches, because you will be working your repeats beginning immediately into the same stitch that you slip stitch into to form that ring. So hopefully that makes sense. If you need a refresher on how to work in the round, just hop down in the description. I'll have one of my in the round tutorials linked for you. So now we're going to clip our yarn and we're going to be working row 2 in color B. So grab your color B and meet back up with me in just a moment for row number 2. Row 2 begins now. We want to make sure that we are getting into that very first V. So that turning chain, you want to scoot it down out of your way. And now you're going to grab color B and join that on. So you can do a slip knot if you like, or you can just work it just like how I'm going to. We draw that loop up, we chain 1, and now we go back down into the same stitch and we work a traditional single crochet. So at this point, I'm going to drop my tail and just work with my working yarn. Draw up our loop and then finish out that traditional single crochet. So now color B, row number 2, repeat begins. We're going to be doing a single crochet in each and every stitch, just like we did for row 1. So we're going to again be working repeat stitches when they're single crochet or back loop only. So that's what we're going to do all the way down the row. And then we can meet back up for row number 3 when you're ready. In the very last stitch of this row, you're going to be doing your traditional single crochet, just like we did for row 1. So I won't show that again. That's all you need to do. Single crochet the entire row. Row 3 begins now. We're going to be joining on this time with color A, and we're going to begin the repeat for row number 3 in just a moment. Make sure that you have joined on using that traditional single crochet in the very first stitch like I showed you. Now we're going to begin the repeat for row number 3, and that repeat begins immediately by doing 2 single crochets over these next 2 stitches. 1, and here's number 2. Now we're going to work 9 double crochets over the next 9 stitches, and you work those double crochets by identifying that next stitch and sliding directly down 2 rows below, picking up that little bump or the front loop that we left by doing back loop only single crochets. So now we just grab and pull up a loop, grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2. That's how we'll be doing all of our double crochets. So we've got to do a total of 9. So there's 1. Here's number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. number 6, number 7, number 8, and number 9. Oops. And now we will end our repeat by doing 1 single crochet here into this next stitch. So if you're ever unsure of where your next stitch is, you can always fold these double crochets back and count the stitches behind them. Each double crochet will take up 1 stitch here on this back row. So I have 9 double crochets, and that means it's taking up 9 stitches. And when I put them back into place, I can easily see that my next stitch is here. So I'm going to place that single crochet to end our repeat. So let's recap what we've done. Row 9's repeat began over here with a total of 2 single crochets, 9 double crochets, and we end with 1 single crochet. So you are going to start back over with the 2 single crochets and work that exact same set of stitches over and over on down your row. And then we'll meet back up at the end of row 3 to work that together so I can show you how all of your row ends will be done. So you may pause here and you can meet back up with me in a moment when you are ready. We are now ready to do the end of row 3 together. So we are going to find that after we finish our repeat, our final one for our row, we will find that at the end of each and every single row, we have 2 stitches left. So you will always have 2 stitches at the end of the row. We are going to restart the repeat for 1 stitch and then do a traditional single crochet in the last stitch of the row. So in your case, for row 3, our repeat begins with a single crochet, so that's what we will place here. Now we will do a traditional single crochet in the last stitch. So under the V, and there we go. So now you'll notice that your row end and your row start will be a mirror image of each other. We have 2 single crochets at the beginning of the row, 2 single crochets at the end of the row. So that's what we need to do. So now we're going to move on to row number 4. Here's what your work will look like after completing the first 3 rows. We're now moving on to row 4, and we will be working in color B. Row 4's repeat begins by doing 1 single crochet here into the very next stitch. One double crochet, nine single crochets over the next 9 stitches. Here's number 1, number 2, number 3, four, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, and number 9. 1 double crochet right here in this next stitch will end our repeat. So that ends our repeat for row 4. So let's recap. Row 4's repeat began over here with 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 9 single crochets, and we end with 1 double crochet. So you'll start back over with your single crochet and keep working this exact same set of stitches all the way down your row, and then we'll meet back up for row number 5 when you're ready. Remember, at the end of the row, you will have 2 stitches left. You will restart your repeat for 1 stitch and then do a traditional single crochet in the very last stitch of the row. Here's what your work will look like after completing row 4. We're now moving on to row 5, and we will be working in color A. Row 5's repeat begins by doing 1 double crochet here into this very next stitch. So there's our next stitch. Now we will do 3 single crochets. There's our next stitch. There's 1, 2, and number 3. 5 double crochets over the next 5 stitches. Here is number 1. 2, 3, 4, and number 5. 3 single crochets will end our repeat. Right here, very next stitch. There's 1, 2, and number 3. So that ends our repeat for row 5. So let's recap. Row 5's repeat began with 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 5 double crochets, 3 single crochets, ends the repeat. So you're going to start back over with the double crochet and keep working this exact set of stitches on down the row. And we'll meet back up for row 6 when you're ready. Row 6 begins now. We are joining on color B. Row 6's repeat begins by doing 3 single crochets over the next 3 stitches. One, two, and number 3. 1 double crochet, five single crochets, 1, 'Pulling out more yarn, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. 1 double crochet, and 2 single crochets will end our repeat. 1 and number 2. So that ends our repeat. So let's recap. Row 6, the repeat began over here with 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 2 single crochets. So we're going to begin back at the start of the repeat with the 3 single crochets next, and you'll keep working that same set of stitches all the way down your row. Essentially, if you really look at what you're doing, you're going to be doing 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet over and over as you work on down your row. That's kind of the cheater method for this particular row. So we'll be back in just a moment for row number 7. Row 7 begins now. We're working in color A for this row. Row 7's repeat begins by working 2 single crochets. Here's number 1 and number 2. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, and we will end the repeat by doing 1 single crochet right here in this next stitch. So that ends our repeat. So let's recap. Row 7's repeat began over here with 2 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 1 single crochet. So you'll start back over with the 2 single crochets and keep working that exact repeat on down your row. And you're going to notice that as you work, when you start that repeat over and you continue on down your row, essentially what you're really doing is 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, over and over all the way down the row. That's the cheater method, we'll say, for this particular row. So we'll be back after you complete row number 7, and we'll work on row number 8 together next. Row 8 begins now, and we're working in color B for this row. Row 8's repeat begins by doing 1 single crochet here in this next stitch. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets over the next 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet will end our repeat. So that ends our repeat for row number 8. So let's recap what we've done. Row 8's repeat began with 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, and we end with 1 double crochet. So you will start back over with 1 single crochet and keep working this exact set of stitches all the way down the row. We'll be back for row 9 when you're ready. Row 9 begins now. We are working in color A for this row. Row 9's repeat begins by doing 2 single crochets over the next 2 stitches. Here's number 1 and number 2. We will now do 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet right here, and 1 single crochet will end the repeat for row number 9. So let's recap our repeat. Row 9's repeat began over here with 2 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 1 single crochet. So you're going to start back over with your 2 single crochets and keep working that exact set of stitches all the way down your row. And then we'll be back when you're ready for row number 10. Here's what your work will look like after completing row 9. We're now moving on to row 10. You are going to work in color B for this row. Row 10's repeat begins by doing 3 single crochets over these next 3 stitches. So here's number 1, 2, and number 3. One double crochet, five single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. 1 double crochet, and 2 single crochets will end our repeat. There's 1 and number 2. So let's recap our repeat. Row number 10's repeat began with 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and 2 single crochets will end that repeat. You are going to start back over with your 3 single crochets and keep working this exact set of stitches all the way down the row, over and over as many times as you need to. So you're going to notice essentially what you end up doing is 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, all the way down your row. That's your cheater method for this particular row. So we'll be back when you're ready for row number 11. We're back and we're now going to work row number 11. You will join on color A and we will use color A for this row. Row 11's repeat begins by doing 1 double crochet into this very next stitch. So we're going to identify our next stitch and slide directly down, picking up this front loop. So there's our 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets ends our repeat. There's 1, 2, and number 3. So that ends our repeat for row number 11. So let's recap. Row 11's repeat began with 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 3 single crochets. So you're going to start back over with this double crochet, and essentially your repeat for this row, you're doing 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets over and over all the way down the row. So that's your cheater method for this row. We'll be back for row 12 when you're ready. We're now going to work on row 12. Row 12 will be worked in color B. Row 12's repeat begins by doing 1 single crochet here into this next stitch. So right here, very next stitch, 1 single crochet. 1 double crochet. 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets. Here's 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet right here into that next stitch to end our repeat for row number 12. So that ends our repeat. So let's recap what we've done. Row 12's repeat began over here with 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, and 1 double crochet to end that repeat. So you'll start back over at the beginning of the repeat and keep working that exact same set of stitches all the way down your row, and then we'll meet back up when you are ready for row 13. So we're about to begin row 13, and for row 13 we're going to be joining on color A. Row 13's repeat begins by doing 1 double crochet here into this very next stitch. So let's take a look. All right, going right here. Now we will do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet. 3 single crochets. There's 1, 2, and number 3. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet right here into this next stitch. Three single crochets over the next 3 stitches. Here's 1, 2, and number 3. And we end our repeat with these 3 single crochets that we just did. So now we're going to recap our repeat for row 13. So row 13's repeat began with 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and 3 single crochets. So you'll be starting back over with this double crochet, and you'll keep working that same set of stitches all the way down your row. Essentially, the cheater method for this row is going to be 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets over and over and over. You'll notice that little rhythm as you start working it. You'll see what you really need to be focusing on, and you'll be able to fly through row 13. Row 14 begins now. Join on color B. Row 14's repeat begins by doing 3 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet. 5 single crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. 1 double crochet. 2 single crochets to end our repeat. There's 1 and number 2. That ends our repeat for row 14, so let's recap. Row 14's repeat began over here with 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 2 single crochets. So you'll start back over with the 3 single crochets next, and you will notice that as you work down this row, What you're really doing is 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, over and over all the way down the row. That's your cheater method for this row. So we'll be back for row 15 when you're ready. Here's what your work will look like after completing row 14. We're now moving on to row 15, and you will be working in color A for this row. We begin working the repeat for row 15 by doing 2 single crochets over these next 2 stitches. We just identify that next stitch and pull up that loop. So there's 1, and here is number 2. Now we will do 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets. There's 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. Now we will do 1 double crochet right here into this next stitch. And then we will be ending our repeat for row 15 by doing 1 single crochet here into this next stitch. And that ends our repeat. So let's recap what we've done. Row 15's repeat began over here when we did 2 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and then we end our repeat with 1 single crochet. You're going to be starting back over with 2 single crochets next. So essentially what you're doing on this row is 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet all the way down. You'll notice that as you begin working the repeat stitches, that's all we're really doing. So there's your cheater method for this row. We'll be back when you're ready to move on to row number 16. Row 16 is going to begin now, and you're going to be working row 16 by joining on color B. Row 16's repeat begins by doing 1 single crochet right here into this next stitch, and then we will do 1 double crochet into the very next stitch. So just wrap and drop down, picking up that front loop. Nice and simple. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets over the next 3 stitches. So there's number 1. There's 1. Here's number 2. And number 3. Now we will do 1 double crochet here in the next stitch. Followed by 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets. So here's number 1, 2, and number 3. And we will end our repeat by doing 1 double crochet right here into this very next stitch. And that ends our repeat for row 16. So let's recap what we've done. Row 16's repeat began with 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, and we end with 1 double crochet. So you're going to start back over with the single crochet and keep working that exact same set of stitches all the way down your row. We'll meet back up when you're ready for row 17. We are now moving on to row 17. We will be working in color A. Row 17's repeat begins by doing 2 single crochets. Here's 1 and number 2. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 1, and we end our repeat for row 17 with 1 single crochet right here into this next stitch. And that ends our repeat. So let's recap what we've done. Row 17's repeat began with 2 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and then we end with 1 single crochet. So we're going to start our repeat back over and do our 2 single crochets next. There's 1 and 2, followed by 1 double crochet. And if you notice, all you're really doing for this row is 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, over and over the rest of the row. Very, very simple to just break it down and do it like that. So that's your cheater method for this row. Otherwise, you can follow the exact repeat stitches I gave you. Either way, you will get the same result. So we'll be back for row 18 when you're ready. Row 18 begins now. We're going to be working in color B. Row 18's repeat begins with 3 single crochets worked over these next 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, and number 3. 1 double crochet, 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. 1 double crochet, and we end with 2 single crochets worked over the next 2 stitches. There's number 1 and number 2. That ends our repeat for row 18, so let's recap. Row 18's repeat began with 3 single crochets, 1 double crochet, 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet, and we end with 2 single crochets. So we begin the repeat over with 3 single crochets, and then we can kind of see that our cheater method for this row, all we're really doing down this row is 5 single crochets, 1 double crochet. So either way, you can work the cheater method or the specific repeat stitches I gave, and you will find that you have the exact same result. So you can keep working on down the rest of your row, and then we will meet back up when you're ready to move on to row 19. Row 19 begins now. We're going to be working in color A for row 19, so please join that on. Row 19's repeat begins by doing 1 double crochet right here into this next stitch. So we identify our very next stitch, and we're going to slide down, picking up that front loop. So there's our 1 double crochet. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets. There it is. 1, 2, and number 3. 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. And now we will end our repeat by doing 3 single crochets over these next 3 stitches. Here's 1, 2, and 3. So let's recap what we've done. Row 19's repeat began with 1 double crochet, 3 single crochets, 5 double crochets, and we end with 3 single crochets. So you will start back over with your double crochet and continue to work that exact same set of stitches all the way down your row, and then we'll be back for our final row, which is row 20, in just a moment. Row 20 begins now. We're going to be working in color B for this row. Row 20's repeat begins by doing 1 single crochet here into this very next stitch. 1 double crochet here into the next. 9 single crochets over the next 9 stitches. So here we go with number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, five, 6, 7, 8, and number 9. And then we will end row 20's repeat by doing 1 double crochet right here into this next stitch. So that ends our repeat for row 20. So let's recap what we've done. Row 20's repeat began over here with 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 9 single crochets, 1 double crochet ends that repeat. So you're going to start back over with the single crochet and keep working this exact same set of stitches all the way down your row. And then we'll be back in just a moment to talk about finishing up a project or just finishing out this pattern, as well as what you will need to do to continue to work up. So here's what your work will look like after you finish row 20. Once you finish row 20, you can rewind back in the same exact video back to row 3 and work rows 3 through 20 over and over as many times as you would like in order to build out a larger project. Once you've done as many repeats of this design as you want, you are going to end this design by working row 3 as your final row. So you'll go all the way through row 20 for the last time on whatever you're making. And then after you finish row 20, you'll do row 3 one more time. And that will end your project. That way you'll end up having this row down here will appear up here. And that will give you a nice even look to the end of your design. It'll also match the end to the beginning. So that's why I tell you guys to do that. And here's what that will look like if you work row 3 as your final row like I've done here. So I've finished off with row 3, and that is what you want to do when you're finishing off this design. Even if you're going to join on to another design and work something completely different next, I still think it looks best if you finish up by doing row 3 one final time. So hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure that you are subscribed, and until next time, bye for now.